This is a response to the video Gaming Sucks or Gaming Sucked in the 90s. I'm not sure what sparked this video or anything like that, but some of the points that he puts forth in the video are not the points that many people, such as myself, use when we state that gaming has declined as in comparison to like the 80s or the 90s. Um, it's not, first of all, it's not simply about gaming. I mean, uh, it encompasses the entire gaming culture of the 80s and 90s versus how it is now. Now it's become more popular, so the very same people who used to make fun of you about playing video games, they're now the people who are buying them and even trying to tell you about video games. And it can be somewhat annoying, especially if you remember clearly that, I mean, there are some cases, I mean, I know there are some kids that were actually ashamed and embarrassed to play games and have their video game magazines back in the day. So now to have these same people to now come along and join the whole gaming bandwagon, especially the this whole retro gaming bandwagon, which of course I love the older games and I love some of the newer ones, but more so, the '90s. For me, the golden era is between the NES and the PlayStation, placed up to about the PlayStation, pretty much after the Dreamcast. That was the beginning of the decline of gaming, as far as I'm concerned. But the golden era started for me. Like, the Super Nintendo is my favorite system of all time. I've said it many times before. But yes, it's not simply about making rehashes of the same game. That that was obviously done well before the '90s, and it's not nothing shocking because there are certain concepts that are going to forever be in gaming. I mean, the whole concept of jumping. But the difference between, say, the '90s and now is that in the '90s you see a clear form of progression. For example, Super Mario. I mean, we can tell the difference between Super Mario One all the way up to Super Mario World, and then we see the progression onto the 3D plane from with Mario 64. The same thing can be said for Zelda and other titles. Even Grand Theft Auto made a nice jump forward on the PlayStation 2. The thing about the 90s up to the beginning of the 2000 era, I want to say around 2002, 2000, 2001 to 2002, because right around that time when Grand Theft Auto came out, when people were talking about that game, people who I watched make fun of people, calling people nerds who like computers and games and stuff like that. Now they're talking about it like it's the next cool thing. That's when I knew the decline happened or was starting to happen. But you can see a clear line of progression that you don't see today. And I noticed this. You can go on the TNL forums. I made a thread about it. I don't know if it's still there. I'll try to find it and I'll try to put it up on my page. But I made a thread and I said, look in comparison, uh, compare the Xbox One and the 360, and the first launch titles of the 360 versus the latter titles of Xbox. There wasn't much difference at all. There wasn't this huge jump, a huge leap, or anything like that. I mean, I won't even talk about the Wii because they were going for a whole different market. I'm not saying the graphics don't look nice on the Wii, but there still wasn't this huge. There wasn't this huge graphical jump. There wasn't this huge form of innovation. People think games are everything's so innovative now. This stuff was being done in the '90s. I'm talking multiplayer, being able to play against people worldwide. I mean, that started with Quake 2. I mean, I was doing that when I was like 12 and 13. I mean, I remember playing Quake 3 in high school. I mean, clear. You can see a clear line of progression. Not just that, gameplay. We went from 2D gaming to 3D gaming. We went from, the graphics had a nice, huge leap, a continual leap. You can tell the difference between the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo. These next new consoles coming out, I mean, you just expect them to look good, and that's not. I'm not saying that that's bad, but I'm saying that there is what makes '90s and people of my generation are so unique is that we experienced gaming from a specific point in time where we could actually watch and view the progression, not just gaming, but the entire entertainment uh, industry in general. It's not just gaming. There's this clear line of progression, and we've reached a ridiculous stagnant point to where everything has become overly commercialized and just it's bandwagon hopping all over the place. I mean, I'll never forget when I went to the movie theater, and I talked about this in one of my rants. You probably should go listen to that if you want more of an understanding where I'm coming from. I think it's the only rant that I have. It's the three-parter. But there's this female in there with her boyfriend, and the whole hype around The Dark Knight and Heath Ledger dying. She went in there and she didn't know who the Joker was. She actually asked the question if that was the Joker on screen. I'm sorry, I had to pause for a moment of silence of how ridiculous that is, but it is the perfect example of this whole new gaming fad culture thing. And I understand some of that is to be expected. And I know companies actually like that because that's how they keep their money. That's how they keep things going. But to say that 90s gaming in the 90s was at the same level as it is now is completely disingenuous if you don't look at all the details that happened in the 90s. I mean, the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast alone did everything that you see these consoles doing now, PlayStation 3, Xbox, the Nintendo Wii. The Dreamcast was already doing that in the year 1999, 2000. So you're telling me it's taken like that a whole nother decade for everyone to actually get what Sega was trying to do back? I mean, we can take it back farther than that. We can take it back to the Sega with Sega and Nintendo. I forgot what it's called. I think it was called Sega Console, something like that, where you could actually go online on the Super Nintendo and on the Sega Genesis and download games and play them over the internet. This is back in like '93. So it's not simply about gaming sucking. It's more about the whole encompassing issue of gaming in general. And I think that's what most people, especially these newer kids, they get offended. We're not trying to offend you. We're just telling you the straight facts here. I'm talking. I remember when Donkey Kong Country came out. Compare that to the original Donkey Kong. That crap was amazing. And they used not only did they use state of the art technology, but the gameplay was on a whole nother level. You could see the progression. And then we get to this new Donkey Kong on the Nintendo Wii. And they have an option to where the game plays itself for you. So you mean to tell me the game, you might as well not even play the game. You might as well just sit and watch it. You might as well watch it on YouTube. That's ridiculous. It's not fun. Now, keep in mind when I say all this, it doesn't mean that there haven't been interesting games, fun games, amazing games that have come out. But in comparison to the 90s, there is no comparison. I mean, we went from Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, all the way up to the Dreamcast. That was an amazing time. And being born in that generation, I was born in '84, so I experienced partial the '80s up to the '90s, and I listened to my father's stories about how he would tell me it was all about arcades. And I got to experience some of the arcade subculture growing up before it completely died out around, I want to say like 1998 onward. It just completely died out. We experienced all of that. We know what it's like to go on dial-up and play games and then get on cable. We know all these things in the entertainment media. We experience that. We know what it's like. So we have a unique take and a unique understanding of gaming versus someone born in like 1995. There's kids who were born like in 1998 trying to tell me about gaming. I'm not saying they don't know anything, but it's kind of absurd. It's ridiculous, and that would be like me trying to talk to my father or anyone that was of age during the 70s with the whole big arcade boom and all that. How can I tell him about gaming when he was there right at the peak of the beginning? So take those things into consideration when people actually are talking about, gaming sucks now. I mean, that's a very simplified statement, though I agree with it. But you cannot compare what has happened now in comparison to in comparison to the '90s. The '90s had a progression of everything about gaming. I'm not even going to get into other forms of entertainment. Everything about gaming progressed in the '90s. That's why we were always amazed in the '90s. everything that come out was like, wow, they did that. Wow, look at the graphics. Wow, every single thing. Look at the graphics. Look at the gameplay. He can all these new features that Super Mario 64. I mean, just stunned people because it's like you can do all this. They actually did it. They actually took it to 3D. Ocarina of Time. They actually took, which Link to the Past has always been my favorite. Ocarina of Time is great, but I already said all this in another video. But they said, look at the progression. Look at this. It expanded upon the gameplay, the graphics, everything. So that's what people mean when they say that. So I don't know if I'm going to try to put this video up under your video. It would be nice if you actually listen to this so you can get a better understanding. I'm willing to talk on Skype, whatever, so we can debate this back and forth. But you're simplifying a larger issue here. You're saying just game. You can't just say gaming and then pick a day. No, this in the entire aspect. I mean, to me, downloadable content is probably going to destroy gaming as far as I know it. I don't want all this stuff to be downloaded. I have a specific preference with having a tangible item in my hand. There's something about that. That's why I still like to have actual physical copies of books, because digital stuff, I mean, if it's all digital and you don't back it up, it's gone. And unless companies actually invest in a server to where they can actually store all your information, or you invest in the server yourself and store your information, which all that stuff will decay or be lost in time, or an electrical storm should happen and hit a power line close to your house and all your stuff gets zapped, and it has happened. I mean, I want a physical copy. There will be nothing like, in a lot of these new kids, especially kids being born now, they will probably never experience what it is like to go into a store and see a section dedicated to gaming, not a actual stand, but just going to the store, mom and pop store at that, and not knowing anything about a game, and just looking at the box art, looking at the cover, and then buying it, and then taking it home, taking the plastic off, taking out the colored cardboard box, looking at the manual in color, and putting the game in, and not knowing what's going to happen. There's nothing now that can ever replace that. I don't care if you can talk to people. I don't care if people can see you and do all this kind of stuff, all this social media. It will never replace what gaming was in the 90s. PC gaming and console gaming. Because I'll tell you right now, what's happening to console gaming is consoles, which they've always been pretty much computers. You can say anything is a computer, a calculator, whatever. But a console was a specialized gaming device, whereas now they're trying to do what PCs did back in the 90s and basically become a PC. In fact, many of these systems want to be the sole entertainment device in your household. And so that's what I'm saying. There's a huge difference. And I'm not saying all of it's bad. I'm not saying all of it's good. I'm saying when people say there's something about the 90s that was just better, you have to take into consideration all of those issues involved.